front of you on the behalf of the brand name is BTC. The speaker is Dr. Bert Goldbeats. Can we have a huge round of applause for him, everybody? Thank you so much, everyone.
Hey everyone, can you hear me all right? Okay. Namaste, my name is Bert, based in Singapore, and I'm with ArrowBiome. It's only a 5-hour flight from Singapore, so it's my absolute pleasure at the invitation of Bansal Trading Company to be here to introduce you to the company ArrowBiome. And I'd always like to start with something that I've personally experienced in Singapore. Singapore is hot and humid, and I would expect India to be, to some extent, very similar. Singapore has a little bit of environmental pollution. I think India might have a little bit more potentially. And obviously for me that causes a lot of issues if I need to go into meetings, if I need to go to places that leads to personal discomfort. And I always start with, the point here is, what if feeling confident in your skin was something that was just completely effortless? Right? What if you didn't have to do much to feel comfortable? What if you have to feel just going into meetings, meeting people, meeting your partner, meeting your kids? What if that was effortless? And obviously there's a couple of elements that are not easily talked about. These might be a little bit intimate, right? We don't talk about our personal challenges and our personal challenges with freshness, with skin, and with body odor, for example. So what we're trying to do here is actually make it easy to talk about, because it's not something to be embarrassed about. And everything that has taken away our confidence in being at our possible best is something that we wanted to do. So it's about breaking the silence about us being at our best and everyday struggles. And this is where we have an invisible ally, right? We always think as our human bodies as being human, but there is more bacterial cells that live on and inside our bodies than we actually have human cells. It's a ratio of 1 to 4. Each one human cell has 4 bacteria actually kind of taking care of it. And that's what I mean by the microbiome. The microbiome are these areas on the skin, in the lungs, in the kidneys, in the gut, where bacteria play an immensely important role. And if everything goes well, they're our ally, right? And they do good things for us. If things are not going so well, that's where problems come from. Potential sickness, and if it's not sickness, maybe personal discomfort related elements. And that's where with ArrowBiome, we're treating these allies in a very different way, because we personally feel that with some of the cosmetics, with some of treatments, our invisible allies are mistreated. And that's why we're coming up with a novel approach in doing this, much more gentle, much more sustainable, and extremely precise and effective. And this is where with ArrowBiome, the name comes from arrow being very precise. Biome comes from microbiome, so we manage the microbiome in the most precise possible way. And this is kind of set to transform personal care applications, because personal care applications in the past have been very much dominantly based on molecules to treat or to affect certain changes. What we're doing is we're using proteins inspired by nature to affect that change in a very targeted and very selected kind of way. And hence, you can partner with us to really drive a novel generation of microbiome-based solutions. And here we are. You can say namaste again. It's really great to see you all in the audience. We're ArrowBiome, right? We're creating these solutions for precise microbiome management. And I'm here today, based on what I just presented, to indicate our 2 commercial products that are being offered to the Indian market through our partner, Bansal Trading Company. We're focusing in particular acne, which are these white breakouts that we have on the skin, driven by typical conditions that I talked about. And we're also going to talk about body odor, which is typically triggered by hot, humid climates, but body odor is not the human that smells. Body odor is the bacteria that cause volatile components that smell. So we can manage that. And this is where I alluded to, right? So climate quite often is a very big challenge. And this is not just about personal hygiene, right? Personal hygiene, taking showers and washing yourself with soap is not always the most effective way in managing your microbiome. Acne and body odor is caused by very specific bacteria, C. acnes, Cutibacterium acnes, and Streptococcus type strains that create either the biofilms that lead to the breakouts or to the volatile components that we perceive as bad body odor. So this is a topic that has nothing to do with personal hygiene. This has everything to do with the condition of your microbiome, with the ratio of certain bacteria, and how hot, humid, and potential pollution and other factors play into that. And this is where obviously in tropical climates we have more and different challenges than what we would have in more arid climates in the Western world. And obviously I don't need to explain the Indian approaches towards skincare, acne, and certain other microbiome management related opportunities. We've got products like neem, we've got mulatani, we've got alum. There's a couple of things where even our grandmother would say, oh, put this on your skin and put it under your armpits and put it places you'll smell better. And quite often these products, they work. They cause the issue to either be suppressed, to be covered up, but quite often the problem is that they're not so very specific and they actually in longer term create bigger issues. The same with Western type chemical-based products. For acne, it's quite often benzoyl peroxide, salicylic acid. For deodorants, there's other components that we use from aluminum oxides and whatever have you. And more in the European Union are actually being banned because there are health concerns. Very recently, L'Oreal, one of the biggest personal care companies in the world, had to do a global recall of BPO-based products for acne based on an increased risk for cancer based on degradation products. So a lot of the traditional remedies, as much as the Western chemicals, are being scrutinized. And what they have in common is that they're not precise. So for the microbiome, they don't understand the difference between bacteria A and bacteria B, and they would kind of affect both of them. And that's why in the long run, you have secondary skin effects and the trade-offs. And when we talk about these trade-offs, that quite often is skin irritation, skin redness, dry skin, cracked skin. And that is very simple from the microbiome, how important it is. This very tiny film that we have on our skin, it's almost like the Earth's atmosphere, is protecting fatty acids, moisture from evaporating. And if that microbiome is being disrupted, your fatty acids are being depleted, moisture is leaving. You might actually have an overpopulation of bad bacteria and you get an immune response. That's where skin redness, irritation comes from. So not treating your bacteria in a healthy state is just so bad for you in the long run. And no matter what you do with classical approaches, it is not going to make it better. Right? We need technologies that don't cause issues and allow the natural skin biome to reestablish itself over time. And that's where traditional grandmother's remedies, as much as the best, more Western approaches, are just not a very good fit. And this is actually what I just talked to, right? And I tried to look up some Indian related market statistics, but this is a worldwide problem. Worldwide, tremendous amount of people feel dryness, irritation. In India in particular, it's 45% that owns skin damage or skin barrier damage. Right? This is the dry skin, this is the irritation and whatever have you. And even if you look at consumer sentiment, well, you guys are in the industry where you know your consumers probably better than I do, but 80% and more are looking for safer solutions. And we'll see later on, it's the younger generation that is looking for safer solutions even more than the older generation like myself. Gen Xers are not that old, to be honest, but yeah, we're also looking for something that works, but it's Gen Z, what is the future? That's where market potential will come from moving forward. And here we are, Gen Z. And again, India is no different from the rest of the world. And although Gen Z is still coming into the workforce right now, it basically means that between now, 2030, 2035, as they go into the workforce and come of age, they'll start representing a dominant part of the spending power in personal care. Globally, we see a lot of skincare brands targeting very specifically to the young consumer. Why young consumers? One, because they're extremely demanding, they're quite well educated, they're digitally savvy, and they will research your brand for the overlap with their ethics and their values of what they're looking for. But also the younger generation is really aiming to not create skin damage, for example. I've seen in China and in other parts of Europe, younger consumers really pay a significant amount of money for skincare products that prevent you from looking like your mom or your dad. It's not about recurring damage and fixing damage, it's about preventing damage, right? And that goes from sunscreen products to skin stemness related products and whatever have you. So why wouldn't we do it with skin microbiome management, right? Keep it healthy while you're young and keep it healthy for much, much longer. So that's why we're seeing 81% in India is looking for ingredient transparency. We see 72% looking for multifunctional type products. So it's got to be a microbiome combined with an other benefit, maybe sebum control, maybe collagen for that matter, or whatever have you. So in terms of spending, it's not because they're young that they're not spending money, right? There's a significant amount of spending, up to about $50 for a single skincare product, so spending power is there, and it's a significant market opportunity that will continue to grow up to about $730 billion in direct personal care spending here in India. So it's a huge market, so why would we ignore it? And obviously as ArrowBiome, to us that sounds like music in our ears. Not that we're happy with the discomfort of people, but it's because we have got a really good solution. We know that with precise microbiome management, a lot of these issues can be addressed. A lot of these opportunities can be tapped into. So as formulators, as distributors, as brand owners, as ingredient manufacturers, this is actually a good time with novel technologies that are biotech based that we can avoid the negative issues and we can start tapping into what the consumers are actually asking us for. So this is where our principle comes from. We are tough on the bad bacteria. We are sparing and completely ignoring the good ones, so we leave them in place, so that over time we have a total microbiome safe approach where a natural balance can reestablish. And obviously we don't fight the skin, we just fight the bad bacteria, and understand what your skin health kind of looks like is core for what we do. So here we are, precision microbiome solutions for acne and body odor. As I mentioned before, we are born in Singapore, so our founder and CEO, Dr. Boon Chong, he's a computational biologist. He's a very particular, bright kind of person that understands the protein interactions. You'll see later on, he had a particularly loving wife, and he loved his wife, and she had severe acne, and that's where all of his energy went into. They say, happy wife, happy life, happy microbiome, also a happy life. So he spent his time in making sure that he could cure his wife's issue, and that's where the core of the invention came from, to engineer the proteins to target C. acnes in particular, and the rest is history, and here we are. So we're here with nature-backed and nature-inspired microbiome management technology, so there is no weird chemistry going on here. This is all bio-inspired kind of materials. And this is the person that I mentioned, Dr. Boon Chong Go, Singaporean, Malaysian heritage. Very bright person and the inventor for the technology. And obviously what we're standing for is a very personal, inspired journey from family values, but also very scientifically core. And this is something that for the company, for us, is important. The scientific rigor is core in everything we do, right? Going from the testing, the platform development, and for new platforms that we will continue to generate in the future. This was a very core specialized protein engineering capability where we really understand how we can target the peptidoglycan chains on certain bacterial cell membranes to engineer the licensed technologies to bind against that, to then manage microbiomes in a very specific way. Singapore obviously is a very good hub to be there, so in the biotech hub in One North, in Biopolis, so that's where we've done most of the work. Obviously Singapore is a small country, so we're venturing out, so we're basically going global from day one, and you'll see a little bit later what that means. And obviously here, we're here to tell a real story and bring that to the consumers. What I meant by inspired by nature, it comes from bacteriophages, viruses, right? And we all have viruses on our skin multiple times per day, constantly. So there probably are bacteriophages on your skin right now, and they're completely harmless. Right? There's nothing weird or nothing geeky about this. But what we've done is we've really taken this mechanism where phages have evolved over a period of billions of years to be very specific for their own particular purpose. So the machinery on how to infect the bacterial cell, replicate, lyse the bacteria, and continue with the cycle is something that's been around for a very long time. And what we've done is we've engineered the process of that bacterial targeting and created a safe product out of it that is very specific and non-chemical. And what is part of what makes it so specific is a lock and key mechanism. Right? So viruses over billions of years have created that lock and key mechanism to only be able to lyse certain bacteria that have a particular lock on the outer side of their cell membrane. Those are the peptidoglycan chains. And if you recognize those with the targeting protein of a lysine, that gives you the opportunity to target the bacteria and then manage their population in the microbiome. The other thing, what we then hear say is, people might say, oh, but antibiotics, they do the same thing, right? Antibiotics, they kill bacteria, and you're absolutely right. Antibiotics could potentially do the same. But we also know that antibiotic resistance is going to be the largest cause of death by 2050, according to WHO standards, right? Antimicrobial resistance will top cancer, heart attacks, diabetes, all combined. It is a major issue. And pharmaceutical companies cannot keep up fast enough with developing novel effective types of antibiotics that after a few years are useless anyway because bacteria continue to develop resistance. The technology that we use works so fast on targeting and killing these bacteria that there is no resistance built. We've tested it with up to 40 cycles of repetitive usage. There is no sign of bacterial resistance being built up. So technically, we could even argue this is not just body odor and acne. This might actually be the future of replacing antibiotics and microbial resistance. There is a whole medical side to what we're doing that is not in personal care, but based on the fundamental mechanism that we're targeting and managing bacteria in a very specific, non-resistance driving kind of manner. And obviously the resistance proof that has been shown, and surgical strike on the skin microbiome, as I've already mentioned, because we've targeted very specific bacteria based on understanding the peptidoglycan chains, that allows us to target Staphylococcus hominis in the case of body odor, or Cutibacterium acnes in the case of skin acne. And coming out of that, we've developed two platform technologies. And I always say platform because platform means you can do one thing, but in the future we can do 1,000 more things. Because we can continue to engineer these targeting proteins to target different bacteria. And yes, we've chosen C. acnes for acne and Streptococcus hominis for body odor, because that for us was the fastest way to market. These are important issues in personal care that we wanted to address. These are non-regulated kind of applications in cosmetics as opposed to medical applications. So that's why we're going this particular path. But it's a platform where we can develop multiple applications or even can do client-specific ways. So if a L'Oreal comes to me and they want something specific and a P&G comes the next day, we can address them specifically by making modifications and customizing it. That's what platform means. We have two of them. One is Archer, coming from an archer which shoots arrows. That's where the precision comes from. And Forge is an alternative platform. And I'll explain later on what the differences between the two are. One, Archer is bacteriophage inspired, that targets and lyses bacteria, makes it extremely effective for body odor reductions. And again, we'll show later. We've done our clinical data in India, in Mumbai. So it's very effective, shown on an Indian population. And again, tailored lysine development for client specifics is possible. Forge, slightly different. It's a particle-based technology where we bring that particle with or without its payload to a particular bacterial colony based on the targeting protein. And that will lead to biofilm disruption and potential biofilm wash-off applications, which is extremely effective for acne. Acne is a biofilm in the hair cuticle of C. acnes. This technology, Smart Arrow, rounds it up and you can wash it off. And obviously this is something that we're extremely proud of, right? So people have done endolysins before. So we're not the world's first endolysine, but I would say we're the first that works. And we're definitely the first one that proves in a clinical study that in humans, in vivo, this leads to dramatic positive results in the absence of any negatives. So no irritation, no resistance buildup, only body odor removal. And just as a caveat, the acne trial is placed right now, also in Mumbai. We'll have those results by October, but we're expecting the same results. And what it basically means is 90% of the panelists that use the product, in the absence of any perfume, no surfactants, no cleaners, only active ingredient suspended in glycerin, dropped on the armpits, within 2 hours, massive drops in body odor, lasts up to 24 hours. If people are asked, well, would you buy this product moving forward? It's a hands down yes. 100% of the panelists are convinced that this is the way to go. What's more simple? Just apply a product and see very fast reductions in the absence of chemicals, irritations, or whatever have you. And what makes it even more wonderful is the data that we are getting post-clinical is showing that the principle works. We've removed Streptococcus hominis, and there is a more natural balance of less smelly bacteria that is replacing it. So over time, you become a less smelly person, which is what I said at the very beginning. This has nothing to do with personal hygiene. This has everything to do in managing your microbiome, and sometimes you just need a little bit of help. And by removing the bad ones, we're showing that this actually really worked. And obviously for body odor, this means targets the odor at the source, right? We remove the malodor containing bacteria, we take those out. It works very fast. So the clinical studies, we actually didn't test faster than 2 hours, but we know in vitro that after 5 to 10 minutes, there's a dramatical drop. So we would expect that this will also reflect in vivo. So next time we'll measure faster and we can make faster moving claims. And it's gentle and effective. We've done the OECD 369 kind of testing. We've done skin patch testing through the clinicals, and it's 100% perfect result, so no irritation whatsoever. In terms of how you guys can formulate with this, is first of all, it's a biotech ingredient. It's a protein and bio-inspired, so effective dosages are very low. So we're sitting around a 0.1% effective concentration, right? So the ingredient per kilo might sound a bit expensive, but you need very little of it, 0.01%. Okay. I'm being cued to talk faster. So we're selling white powder. It is not cocaine, but it's very easy to formulate with. Water soluble, it's a protein, so we can literally add it to any spray, cream, mask, whatever have you, under standard conditions, stable and regulatory fully approved and stable, and INCI names are also being done. Quickly here, and again, maybe the presentations are shared later on so you can read the details, but it's patent protected by MIT worldwide. The company has all the exclusive licenses on the patent, and future patents are being filed by the company. So you're literally adopting a technology that is perfectly adopted, and we can work with brand owners to create something specific. Very briefly on the mode of action. So in the middle, you see a hair cuticle. The yellow stuff is the biofilm buildup, and Smart Arrow will target that. 2 versions without payload, binds it, lifts it off, you wash it off. Or you can start adding active ingredients in the particle like a retinol for sebum management and other applications to have a secondary benefit for longer term maintenance. In summary, and I think I've mentioned most of these already, so specific biofilm removal, and the Smart Arrow Plus will then go into the biofilm removal plus secondary benefits for a more multifunctional type product that Gen Z is looking for regardless. I think, did it move already? Okay, well, in summary again, this is the appearance, formulation friendly for acne. So I guess we can go to the next one already. Patents specifically for Smart Arrow and Smart Arrow Plus. Again, full coverage, global, owned by the company and by MIT. So again, you've got something that has a very strong protection moving forward from competitive activities, and any new product, any new sequence that we engineer will then be covered by new patents moving forward. What I mentioned before, Singapore focused, right? That's where we have our headquarters, but we already have an R&D and a sales hub in Belgium for expansion, for further microbiome generation. We do manufacturing is in place. We source out of Belgium, Italy, and Taiwan, and we without from there supply the world already. It is quite popular already. We got most, if not all, of the personal care Fortune 500s in conversation and in the spec-in for their technology. So it's a very busy period to start selling the material, and there's already active pilots in place for formulation development at this level. And very considering for us is that we're already going into novel verticals beyond body odor, beyond acne, to develop novel applications for these commercials. You can skip to because these were supposed to be deleted. Next one again. Very briefly, sustainability, if it is a case for you guys, we know in Europe and in the US it's extremely important. So sustainability is at the core of what we do in terms of ingredient sourcing, being cruelty-free, managing waste through biofermentation processes. I've heard the speaker before me talk about manufacturing with biofermentation, but we take it a step further. We really go into no waste of the fermentation liquids. We go into no adverse reaction chemicals in maintaining the expression, and we're optimizing the expression systems to continue to drive efficiency and cost in moving forward. So sustainability is at the core of everything we do. Very briefly also, we've invested heavily in internal R&D capabilities. So if a customer comes with custom work, custom formulation work, custom optimizations, we can do this in-house. We've got very fast bioreactors where we can create novel sequences, novel products in a period of weeks, maximum months, depending on the complexity. And we can get to R&D sample quantities up to 10 gram in-house. Commercial samples will be contract manufactured in the kilo amounts. How to work with us? Basically 3 ways. Buy our product through Bansal Trading Company, obviously. 2, licensing and supply agreements for something that is more specific for you. And 3 is contact us for co-development if you have specific needs, whether it's formulation or an adjustment of the bioactive. So 3 ways where you can work with us. And this is our team. Chinqui stands behind the barrier there. She's our business development lead. At the same time, all together, we've got a very expression, mission, and vision to really rebalance that microbiome for well-being, leading that revolution, really driving and innovating that. Obviously, a quick shout out to the Bansal Trading Company, because obviously we're bringing this solution to India in particular through strategic partnerships. It is tested clinically in India, so we know it's a very good fit for the local Indian market. We're commercially ready. We can supply commercial orders with a bit of a planning period, so we need to do the rounds in Belgium and then we can forecast and supply. And this is obviously a young startup company, but we don't want to call ourselves startup because biotech, when you say biotech, it's almost like it's a dirty word. It takes 10 years before you can do anything. We've been around for 3 years. We're commercially ready. We're selling, we're scaling, and we're good to go. So feel free to reach out. We're more than happy to take orders. If you go to the next slide, you can see where you can find us. So this is my name, my email. You can find us here. We're also here in Hall 3 at stall number 5 with Bansal Trading Company. So if you've got any further questions, feel free to reach me. Look for the people with the blue polo. ArrowBiome, it's very hard to miss us. So come and ask any technical question. And from that, it's been an absolute pleasure to then really talk to you guys. Any questions now? I think we ran out of time, but come and find me.
Very well presented. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Welcome to